Welcome to the tour of the lifts and the escalators at the Intu Hill Shopping Centre. Now, Intu Hill Shopping Centre is located in Hill, Dudley in the West Midlands and is on 2 floors. It is one of the main shopping centres to explore of all time. Here is the map of the shopping centre at Hill. Now you can probably tell that there are loads of markings ahead. That is because of the social distancing and the government guidelines of the coronavirus. Now, I couldn't manage to film the lifts in all the shops, but I have done a couple. So then, we are starting on the lower mall, and the first shop we come to is a supermarket. It used to be known as Carrefour, which was a French hypermarket. Then it changed to Gateway, and then it became ASDA. And of course, ASDA has a cafe and pharmacy on the upper floor, with ASDA being on the main floor. And of course, the lift is a Thyssenkrupp. It used to be a nice old Evans lift. It had bad modernisation a couple of years ago with Dewhurst buttons, and it kept on having reliability problems. And since it got replaced by a Thyssenkrupp, it looked a lot better. But unfortunately, I was unable to film this lift because of the cafe being closed following the coronavirus pandemic, but it's going to be back open this weekend under the new social distancing rules. And of course, the lift gets the floor numbering incorrect. It calls it ground and 1 rather than ground and mezzanine. So then, now let's move on to the escalator that is just outside the shop and goes past and is located by JD Sports on the lower level and comes out by TK Maxx on the upper level. Let's ride it. JD Sports in the Asda. TK Maxx up here, and right, this is the top of the escalator. And now along to M&S Men's. Now, M&S Men's is only operating on 1 floor, so the escalators and the lift are temporarily out of use, but will be back in use very soon. The escalators here are made by O&K, and the lift is a nice old Evans. This shop here used to be known as Littlewoods, and there was even a Woolworths right next door. Of course, as you can probably tell, that all the escalators, which I forgot to say, are Otis ones. And M&S Men's used to be merged with the women's one, which is operating on 2 floors. And this M&S has menswear, children's wear, and a cafe. But the cafe is closed, and there's also a bank. There used to be homeware in this shop, but that has moved back into the women's wear from when it all started, when the Hill Shopping Centre opened for business. So it was really disappointing that I could not film the mighty old Evans lift, and unfortunately, due to strict tight restrictions, I was going to film the glass lift that is just round the corner, but apparently I could not film it because there was too many people using the lift, which was very, very disappointing. So what I did, it was really disappointing, and same, I couldn't get to the Otis Gen 2 lifts outside the food court, which was really, really annoying. And I couldn't even film the lift in H&M. And apparently H&M used to have a lovely Furse lift, but apparently they modernised it by a Stannah. And the lift there is now a Stannah. And then, of course, you have Thyssen escalators, but apparently couldn't get into H&M due to safety government guidelines. And the first floor is actually blocked up. And however, the lift in M&S Men's gets the floor numbering correct. The same goes with the lift in H&M and also the glass lift, ground and 1. As this shopping centre is on 2 floors, ground floor, which is the lower mall, and first floor, which is the upper mall. And so anyway, those lifts are in operation. But except the one in M&S is not in use at the moment for the public, but it will be back in use very, very soon. So anyway, going along, there aren't any lifts in the certain shops along the way. So anyway, let's move on and go round the corner, try to film the a couple of lifts around there. But anyway, let's go to the escalators, which are closer to Primark. Okay, anyway, here's the other escalator to Intu Mary Hill. These are code. Anyway, this is one close to Primark and Sports Direct. Most of the shops are still shut because it's still in the middle of the coronavirus pandemic. Let's go back up, Carl. Let's go back up. Oh, these are like got energy saving them. Got energy saving on them. Starbucks, and up there used to be where the monorail used to be. And anyway, here we're at the top, and that's it. And now along to Primark. Unfortunately, the upper floor is exit only, and apparently there is a queue in place on the lower level, so I was unable to film the lifts and the escalators. The escalators are Thyssenkrupps, while the lifts used to be Thyssenkrupps, but sadly in 2018, Cone replaced them with horrid generic lifts. Apparently, Primark should be invested in Cone monospaces, not Cone generic lifts. And now, along to Boots, which I could not get in because of the safety government guidelines. And Boots used to have a really nice old escalator with black steps, and also a nice old Evans lift. The Evans lift was replaced by a Schindler, and now it's replaced by a horrid generic lift. Typical things what Boots try to invest. And I couldn't bother to film it as it's just a boring generic. And of course, I will be doing another vlog based on this centre very soon. I couldn't even get into River Island to film the Cone escalators and the Kleeman lift. I couldn't even get into Superdry to film the Oakland lift there. And I couldn't even get into Top Man Top Shop as they're on separate areas because the escalator, which is a Schindler, and the Stannah lift is currently out of action. And it is really disappointing that I couldn't get into many of the lifts that I would have reached at the centre. Anyway, now let's go further down the mall to where there used to be a really nice old Schindler lift. It was replaced by a Lift and Engineering Services Limited lift, and is now replaced as of last year by a Cone monospace, which is similar to a Cone EcoDisc. Let's ride it. Okay, anyway, this is the lift outside Debenhams into Mary Hill. As you can see, Debenhams is back open now. This used to be a Schindler, then modernised by Lift and Engineering Services, and it's been replaced again by a Cone monospace. Here it is. Wait for someone to come out. Alright. Good house grounds.
Doors closing.
View. Capacity 12 persons, 900 kilograms. Plastic.
Ground floor.
Ground floor.
Doors opening. Going up. Doors closing. First floor.
Here at first
Doors
floor.
opening. Going down.
And now along to next, which used to be Sainsbury's. Unfortunately, I could not get into next because of safety government guidelines. And the shop is only on one sales floor, but there is a mezzanine floor where the Costa Coffee is, which is currently closed at the moment. And the lift is, well, just a boring old techno lift, but I'm sure to film it at some point very soon. And of course, next previously had Oakland's, but now they've gone for techno lifts, which are like modern day Kleeman, just like lifts being put together like with the likes of River Island and Topshop. Unfortunately, I could not film the Schindler lift that went into the car parks and the management suite because that little multi-storey car park is blocked off. So now along into Debenhams, which only opened last Friday. Now, as you probably know, Debenhams has been in difficult times throughout 2020, having to close stores and a company in administration, but luckily this shop is being saved. And now along into the lift in Debenhams, which is a really nice old Schindler lift, but apparently the doors are knackered these days, but it's still a really good lift with good motor sound. And Debenhams also has some awesome O&K escalators, which they had maintained back in the 90s, as this Debenhams is a really nice old 1990s store. And it's so interesting to see one of these stores in the good 90s condition compared to the one at Bournemouth and also the one in Telford. And of course, this Debenhams is so interesting to go in. Anyway, let's ride the Schindler lift before riding the O&K escalators. Okay, anyway, this is the lift at Debenhams in Merry Hill. This is an older Schindler lift with an original Schindler button. Last remaining Schindler indicator. Keyhole up there. Here it is. Slow doors. Keep the safe distance. Go down to ground. Shut the doors. Capacity 1600 kilograms, 21 persons. This is slow. And it's back open after the closure last week. Most of the Debenhams shops have gone into administration. Not many have made it through the virus. We are ground. Now let's go back to one. Wait for the doors. Shut the doors. See, it does work. It's really old. Hi. Ground. It's good to see Debenhams back open here in Merry Hill. It'd be lovely if they modernise this lift. Here we are, one. And that's it. Anyway, here are the escalators from Debenhams in Merry Hill. Please keep a safe distance. O&K escalators. Couldn't manage to get into any of the other shops because of these restrictions, but I am going to do another tour of the lift at Merry Hill very, very soon. So, okay, here on the ground. This is it. And now to a lift that used to go up to the monorail station. The monorail left ages ago, and the lift here was an awesome old Schindler and was a round circle-shaped one, which was really unique. But apparently, as of 2016 into 2017, this lift is now being replaced by an Otis Gen 2 and is a lot faster than the old round Schindler lift. To be honest, I really do miss the nice old round Schindler lift because it was one of my favourites to be seen in the centre. And of course, I really liked it. And of course, all the old classic Schindler lifts, which were modernised by lifting engineering services, had the same voice. And they used to say, "Please stand clear of the doors," but they don't anymore. Anyway, this is the lift outside M&S at Intu Merry Hill. This used to be where the lift used to go to the monorail. Got a one. Capacity 1600 kilograms, 21 persons. Modernised, replaced 2016. This is fast. There used to be a round lift, but there isn't anymore. First floor, and that's it. And now along to M&S. This one is the women's wear, food and home. And this shop has some really nice old Thyssen escalators which are single file. And also the lift used to be an awesome Keighley with a travel button, but sadly it has been modernised by Stannah. Typical M&S trying to maintain lifts and then replace them with horrible lifts. And of course, this Stannah seems to be good because it has the same announcement as the Piccadilly line on the London Underground. And it makes me think that I'm actually in London and on the Piccadilly line compared to being in this generic lift. And it's really interesting. And of course, the floor numbering system, lower ground and upper ground. And it is really good and still has the old smelter from the previous year, from the previous time when it was a Keighley, And as you probably know, the food hall's on the upper floor rather than being on the lower floor. So anyway, let's ride the escalators and the lift. Anyway, here we are on the escalators in this. This is the women's one, and the only one that's operating on 2 floors and single file. Anyway, we're on the bottom. Let's go back up here. These ones are so slow. There is a lift in here. It's a generic. It used to be a Keighley. Right, this is the top floor, and that's it. Lift at the M&S Women's in Merry Hill. This used to be the Keighley with the travel button. It got replaced, modernised by Stannah. With it. Capacity 14 persons, 1100 kilograms. Go down to lower ground.
Doors closing.
The travel button used to be there.
Lift going down.
And I used to have speakers there, but I've put them here. And there was no wing mirror here before. Hi. CCTV.
Lower ground floor.
Lower ground floor. Go
Doors
back down
opening.
back up to ground.
Doors closing.
Doors closing. This has the Piccadilly line voice.
Lift going up.
Almost 2016. Still in good condition, this lift.
Upper ground floor.
We've got upper ground floor.
Doors
That's
opening.
it. And now along to Waterstones, which is the last bookshop to be seen in the Merry Hill, the biggest one since W.H. Smith's closed. And Waterstones has a really nice old Stannah lift, but apparently it does rattle quite a lot. Anyway, this Stannah seems to be a lot better compared to others. And finally, to the multi-storey car park at the Intu Merry Hill. Now, this multi-storey car park has Otis Gen 2 lifts, built in 2003, but had an updated voice a couple of years ago. Anyway, let's ride these lifts. Okay, here we are on the lift of the car park at Intu Merry Hill. Otis Gen 2 lift capacity 1600 kilograms, 21 persons, built in 2003. Fourth floor, goes 3 and 2. Second floor. Go down to 1. Otis? Hi there. Yeah. First floor, go down to the ground. Let's go to Jade. Right, ground? Now, listen to this. And that's it.